Welcome to Smart Brown Voices, your weekly podcast featuring diverse voices from around the world, giving you insights on how others made it big in their respective fields. Now sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready to be inspired. And don't forget to use hashtag SmartBrownVoices to share insights, moments of wisdom, and things from the show that inspire you. And now, here's your host, social media nerd and technology activist, Mr. Mike Street.
Okay, so here we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mike Street here, and welcome back to another edition of Smart Brown Voices. Make sure you're using hashtag Smart Brown Voices and let me know what other people you'd like for me to feature on upcoming episodes. Now, we're here with someone who I've been following for quite a while now. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Good day to you, Mike. My name's Paul Brunson. I use carrot in there. It's a kind of a crazy story. There's a notorious drug dealer named Paul Brunson who grew up in the same area that I grew up in and is roughly my age. And so to try to distinguish myself, I was using Paul Carrot Brunson. So I like to say Paul Brunson, but sometimes I just need to say Paul Carrot Brunson.
And you grew up where did you grow up at?
You know, I grew up in New York originally, which a lot of people don't know. So I grew up was born in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, and we moved to Long Island and stayed out there. And then from there I moved to Northern Virginia and just kind of moved everywhere, but really grew up in New York.
Nice. And so now you're, hanging out in my area of the woods, which is in D.C.
Oh, and we love it. Love D.C. Don't think we'll ever move from D.C.
What part of D.C. are you in?
You know what's funny about that is, so we technically live in this new area they're trying to call 16th Street Heights. It's really Petworth. But yeah. You know how D.C. is changing with the gentrification.
Oh my God, it's so crazy.
Oh man, it's really wild. So they've almost like retitled our little neighborhood to call it 16th Street Heights.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of that out here in Harlem, because I live in Harlem, and they're trying to call it everything else but Harlem.
You know what I think about it is sure it looks good, you know, and it kind of feels good, and there's new restaurants, so it tastes good, but I don't think you can put a price on what we're losing. You know, in my neighborhood, for example, right along my block, Marvin Gaye lived two homes up from where I live, back in the day. In my home, Lynn Whitfield lived here in my home, which is incredible to know that she lived here. Her husband, Mr. Whitfield, who, producer, movie producer, and we would never have known that if it wasn't for one person who lived on this block. He grew up, with his grandmother, and he was actually getting foreclosed on. And he lived down the street. And first of all, no one talks anymore, which is terrible, but he was getting foreclosed on. All of his kind of furniture was being put on everyone's lawn. So I woke up one day, I see like a couch on my lawn. I'm like, what's this? Right? So I go out and I find out whose house it belongs to. I went down, and then that was the first and last time I talked to him. But just talking to him, he told me about how rich the culture was off this block, and I never would have known that. And so there's a culture, there's a legacy, right, that They're stories, rich stories that we're losing, and that is what's incredibly sad.
Yeah. So the same thing here in Harlem because, walking the streets, you just see a lot of culture and a lot of history, but, they're trying to build, Starbucks in every corner. We have Bed Bath & Beyond, which is coming now, and Whole Foods is coming. So just a lot of change. So let's talk about you for a second. Like, you've had like a really interesting career. I first came to know you because I was working on TV, and you were on an interesting reality show called Lovetown. So talk to us how you kind of got started into that and how that opportunity came about.
It's a wild story, and it's one that I know you like because it involves social media. I tell everyone, and they just kind of stare at me in disbelief, but I really was able to partner with Oprah because of social media. I think the train of events were really, I put out a web series in 2009, maybe. I think it was 2009, and it was called The Modern Day Matchmaker. And what was interesting about that show is, one is I look back and cringe, right, when I look at myself on that. But I spent so much money on that show. I think per production minute, I was probably spending $3,000, $225 to $3,000, and I didn't have that money. I was, borrowing and doing all that kind of thing, but produced what I thought was a high production quality show. And when we launched it, we had very little views. I'm talking about we were in the double digits, like less than 100 views. And I remember being really disappointed because I saw other folks who were accumulating hundreds of thousands of views and not putting in the level of production quality. And that taught me so much, about, just the importance of great content and, other things about distribution. But eventually, and when I say eventually, it's very quickly, we started getting Facebook messages from someone from the OWN network. And they said, hey, we've been watching this show. We think it's hot. We'd love for you to come and visit us. And, great lesson there was quality over quantity, right? And it's not necessarily how many, it's who's viewing, right, and who is engaging. And so through Facebook, we got in touch. And that in itself was crazy because the first message I deleted, because if someone sends you a Facebook message and says, hey, I'm with Oprah Winfrey and we want to talk to you, that sounds like spam, right?
Yeah, you're like, who's this trickster?
Exactly. So I was like, delete. But after a couple of rounds of that, they brought me into the offices in L.A., talked about the show, and that's how I was able to connect with them. It was really the power of social media that did it.
Right. So, that's actually really interesting because the way I came to work on the OWN account was that my boss, Gary Vaynerchuk, he was, there was a particular instance when Oprah had tweeted about, watching the OWN network for people who have Nielsen boxes. So you say, she sent out a tweet that said, if you have a Nielsen box, make sure you tune into the OWN network so that we can get the rating. So Gary saw that tweet, and so he kind of just went after her on social media. And so, she manages her own social media, so, because she wanted to learn more about, how to tweet and how to Instagram. So she manages most of it herself. And so she saw Gary's tweet, and then she tweeted him back, and then Oprah's right-hand woman reached out to Gary, and then I think like the next day he was on a plane out to Chicago to meet with Oprah and, try to figure out how they should be, using social media better. And then when I came to join VaynerMedia, he had just landed the OWN TV account. Again, that was all through, just a series of tweets, which led to, a job. And, and then So I think that's kind of like how the world is changing and working, because we're connecting in, more exciting ways of, really communicating with each other. But, it's also a lesson, like, you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. It may be from that one tweet that someone sees that, you may be sitting in Oprah's office the next day. So, you always have to kind of just be mindful of what you're doing.
Wow, that's a powerful story. I had no idea. And I was always curious about how, Gary got in there, because I remember seeing Oprah's first Instagram post, and Gary was in it. I remember seeing that. I was like, wow, what is he doing there? And that's wild. So it's a great story that you just shared.
It was just, like Oprah likes to learn a lot of things, and I like it because, like she's such a powerful person, but, it's, she's, able to, still, learn and, try to create things through modern technology, and, she's open to exploring new channels. So talk to us about the experience of working, with Oprah, and you've worked with 2 billionaires. So tell us a little bit more about that, because you have a really great article, or a 2-part article that goes around that's been circling around the web for a while now, where you really talk about, your experiences of working for 2 billionaires.
It was probably the biggest blessing in my life, to work and observe that, collectively I worked for both of them for about 6 years. With Oprah, what was really interesting is that I worked on Lovetown, and then shortly thereafter worked on another show that never got legs. I think we got 1 episode on TV, but it was Soul Pancake that she was hosting and I was a correspondent on. And so,
I love that show.
Yeah, it was a great show. But ultimately, it was just an incredible blessing to just kind of be a part of the circle, to sit and watch her and her, heads of state, Eric Logan or Sherry Salata, like to see them operate. And then the other billionaire I worked for, and it was for a much longer period of time, his name is Enver Yücel. And he's someone who really transformed my life. And I say that, with with all earnest. I mean, he single-handedly transformed my life. And what's interesting about that relationship is that Enver Yücel doesn't speak English, and I don't speak Turkish. He's Turkish, and so that was an incredible experience. And with him, it was one of those moments where I call it stepping out on faith that allowed me to start working for him. I mean, we met, and he very quickly offered up an opportunity that I then took advantage of. And so working with both of them taught me quite a lot. And that was why I wrote that one post. And what's been great about that post is that post single-handedly has driven over 5 million people to my website. It's great. Yeah, over
5 million.
Yes, over 5 million people. As a matter of fact, I tracked that post, and because I published it on my site, and then Huffington Post said, "Hey, you should post this on Huffington Post." So posted on Huffington Post, and shows you also something about timing. Is it was on Huffington Post last year, and it had minimal traffic. They updated the post right at the end of 2014, so it was kind of like that mid-December period, and it went viral. And I think it was because people looked at it as this is great guidance for entering the new year, right, 2015. And so it's been incredible. And then from there, I would say 24 very large platforms have picked up the post. So over 5 million people to the site. And I think people resonated with the post because, everyone's curious about billionaires, right? And are they any different than us? And when you read the post, you see that they have the same challenges that we do. and I outlined just 20 things that I learned from them. And these are things that, I think most of us, especially those of us that are on the grind, that we do. And the first one, and one of my favorite lessons, and it's interesting because you just said this about Oprah, is that I noticed that both Oprah and Enver, that they continually invest in themselves. Continually. You talked about Oprah and how, she wanted to learn about social media. I mean, she could have easily just said, hey, somebody on my team do this. Clearly she's busy. She could have someone else tweeting. She could have someone else posting photos. But she not only does it herself, but she was curious enough to want to learn the skill. With Enver, it was the same way.
She wasn't scared to make any, mistakes because, sometimes she would have like an upside down, picture posted on her Instagram. But, she was willing to, to learn from those mistakes. Because one of the things we had to do is, I had to generate, a weekly report for her. And it was like, well, this is what you did in social media this week. And so this is what was good, and this is what was bad. And, she took all the, the feedback in stride and really, applied it to, everything that she does. And, she learned, what, resonated with, her audience and what kind of picture, they love seeing pictures of her in the garden when she's picking, vegetables from her garden. And
right.
So she did more of that. And, so she learns, and I think, she was super open to everything.
Yeah, and that's how you win, man. Pushing to almost fail, right, is knowing that mistakes are going to come, but you'll learn from those mistakes, and you'll be able to make whatever you're doing that much better. And Oprah did it, with social media, obviously, and many other things. Enver did it. I saw him do it in particular with language. Here's a guy who was a billionaire. He walked around with a huge entourage, and he has interpreters and translators. I mean, he's got it all, right? He doesn't need to speak English. He's fine, right? But yet he still pushed. And I'm actually really, really proud of him because I just went to. He was awarded an award from the UN, and it was just recently. We went to the dinner, and he gave his acceptance speech in English, and that was huge for him to have learned enough English to give his acceptance speech. I was very proud of him, and it just goes to show that you continually invest in yourself. And I wrote it in the post is that the moment you stop investing in yourself is the moment you've written off all future dividends in your life. And so continually invest in yourself. That's the number one lesson I learned from these guys.
So let's move into Mentor Mondays and, making that investment and kind of taking what you learned from, reality TV and the production world and bringing that to the online space. So tell me, how did you guys come up with the concept of Mentor Mondays and, and really give, let's go deep into it because I really think it's, I saw Mentor Mondays maybe a year ago, and I was like, oh, this is pretty awesome. And I was like, and then I saw it was you that were attached to it, and I was like, oh, Paul's still, out there pushing and grinding. And I was loving it, and I was like, this is so perfect for right now because everyone's obsessed with startup culture, and the workforce is really moving into everybody doing their own thing, and so I thought it was the perfect kind of content for what everyone's doing right now, especially someone like me who I left my job a year ago and have just been out there pounding the pavement, grinding. So for me, it's Mentor Monday. It's just it's inspiring just to see all the different entrepreneurs of color, doing their thing.
Wow, I really appreciate you saying that. I mean, and we had you on as a guest, which was one of our more popular shows. Yeah, which was just, it was phenomenal to have you there. Mentor Monday, I will tell you the backstory to the story is it literally started because I wrote a piece about advice to single men, right? And I was writing the piece because everyone assumes, in the relationship space that we all cater towards women, right? And a lot of relationship experts do because it's the lower hanging fruit. Women are reading more, where men are, consuming more visual content. So I wrote a piece specifically. I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to just the fellas. And that piece generated thousands, like literally thousands of inbox messages saying, Paul, can you mentor me? Because at the end of the piece, I say, if you're looking for, like, mentorship is everything. That changed my life. And if you're looking for a mentor, reach out to me. So thousands, literally thousands. And so I couldn't keep up with the volume. I tried to farm it out to, people, to, mentoring organizations. It just wasn't working. So I said, let me create a video talk or something that's on a live format so that I can engage with these guys, right, in particular, on a periodic basis. That was the drive for it. Now, I remember distinctly saying to myself, I don't know if I want to do this, because I got that fear. I was thinking, if I start this, what if no one watches? And if no one watches, how is that going to impact me or impact my brand? Like, that would be terrible. I'm doing it at no cost, right? So I'm just doing it, and because I'm doing it, it's an opportunity cost because I could be doing something else. I mean, there were all of these things that went into play, but I said, let me just go ahead and do it. Let me step out of faith. And so the first few sessions were just kind of me just popping up on video, answering questions, and it was something that we just let breathe, right? We just went with the flow, saw what the questions were, saw who was showing up. And over doing this every other week for a few weeks, we started to realize that people wanted to hear me, but they wanted to hear more than just me. And opposed to generic life advice, the people who were showing up were people who specifically wanted to get practical advice, right? Actionable advice on their big dreams. And their big dreams were sometimes entrepreneurship. Their big dreams were sometimes just how do you create an idea. Their big dreams were about, execution within maybe a corporate job that they're working, but how do you, but actionable advice for big dreams. And so over time, right, we came up with the format. We realized, okay, it's smarter to bring guests on, right? It's also smarter to, cater the advice. We needed to clean up, how we were promoting it. I mean, it really breathed over time. And it got to a point where, and even now, where it is, it's like producing a show, a TV show. And it's Mentor Monday is something that I could say it's one of the things that I'm almost most proud of, because it started out in a place of fear. I was fearful. And it's now grown to a place where it has literally helped thousands of people, and when I say help thousands of people is, I can't say thousands have had it, but we've received enough correspondence to show that folks are having breakthroughs, it's changing their lives. And on top of it changing everyone else's life, it's changed my life. I think that in part because of Mentor Monday, I got my job hosting Our World on Black Enterprise. So I got a TV show, I believe, as a result of this thing that, I had no expectation for. I was just kind of putting out in the universe. And so Mentor Monday, practical advice for your big dreams, I'm really, really proud of it.
So that's awesome. So Mentor Monday is like really evolved, and it's taken, you to from the digital, from TV, so you've gone from TV to, the internet, and now back to TV. So what is next for you? Like, what's upcoming for you, for 2015?
Wow, for 2015, this is the first year that I've entered that I have really structured in advance. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like every year I would just enter it and just say, whatever comes my way, I'm going to work on it. But there are very specific projects and a very specific strategy that myself and my team that we've been working on for 2015. So the two larger things that we're working on would be, one is called Weekend Startup School. And this is something that I'm super, super proud of. It actually has come from our work with Mentor Monday. And it's something that, Mike, we've got you, coming as one of our first guests, which, by the way, we announced Weekend Startup School, and we're almost fully subscribed, within 3 days. So it is hot. Really what Weekend Startup School is all about is it's an opportunity in particular for brown people, right? Smart brown people, right? to learn how to start up a startup. And part of it came from our work with Mentor Monday, and we launched an initiative called Mastermind, where we had literally, I think we got up to maybe about a little over 100 masterminds, so groups of 10 to 12 people who were meeting on a biweekly basis, so over 1,000 people. And we then took that larger scale mastermind concept and then dwindled it down to live full-day masterminds where we would put 20 to 30 people in a room. We would bring in one business school professor, and then collectively we would put each entrepreneur on a hot seat and focus on their business for 15 to 20 minutes. And from doing those and through Mentor Monday, what we realized is that, in particular, minority entrepreneurs, while capital, right, is often we think capital is the number one reason why our businesses don't succeed, what we realize is it's really insufficient knowledge, right, and access to social capital that we're missing. And so we decided that we wanted to construct something that was affordable, that was quick, but that was thorough in providing sufficient enough knowledge so that if you are thinking of starting up a startup, or if you are 1, 2, 3 years into creating a startup, that this event would allow you and would basically be a jumping off point for you. And so, in short, Weekend Startup School is 2 days, so over 16 hours. We bring in 8 top entrepreneurs within their respective fields, right? Mike, you're coming in to talk about social media. And we also have brought in we'll be bringing in some MBA professors. And within a close-knit group, those 8 will provide 8 lectures around the topics that they are, that they're experts in, and then we'll allow for Q&A. It's going to be an incredible experience. And what I love about it is that I have not yet seen something like this because, us as minority entrepreneurs, we do have different challenges. We have different hurdles, and that's what Weekend Startup School is going to address. And so we kick it off in D.C., and then we have plans already. We're planning the second Weekend Startup School, which is going to take place in New York, and we'll continue to do this probably every quarter.
Nice, that's awesome, and thank you for having me to come to the for 2 Weekend Startup School. I can't wait. I'm actually doing I'm going to be presenting a case study that I hope everybody can learn from, because one thing that happened to me over the past couple of months is just like my Twitter started blowing up, and I said this one particular tweet got almost 4,000 retweets. And so I'm, going to reverse engineer that so that people can learn, like, how to really, because I see a lot of people are complaining about Facebook, but I was like, you can't put all your eggs in one basket with all of your content. So I want to use that as a teachable moment to, teach people and teach especially the business community, like, here's really the power of social media and what we can really do with it, and really how to tap into emotion. I feel that's what's lacking is the emotion in a lot of the content that people are putting out there. But I think like what you've been doing with Mentor Mondays is that you made yourself like really accessible to people. Even though we're watching the video, like a lot of people feel like close to you in your knowledge, and a lot of the other mentors who have been on on the show, I don't know, like for me when I was on, like I got a lot of people emailing me and asking me about crowdfunding, and I did a lot of one-on-one phone consultations and helping people with their crowdfunding campaigns. I think one of the people I helped, they raised about $40,000.
Wow! I love it. I love it, man. I mean, the community aspect of it is really what makes Mentor Monday work. And so I love that. I love that you were able to help someone, and that one event of raising that money that could have changed that person's life, forever.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's really exciting to see, our people, really just jump into, we've always been entrepreneurial and creative, but now I think more than ever with the, job market and the economy, the way it is, they have good numbers, but it's still, still hard out here for a pimp. But you still have to, you still got to hustle and grind. And so awesome. I think, one of the biggest takeaways from me really talking to you today is like really, building out that community and having content that your community, wants to consume and share. And I think that's what you guys have done, with Mentor Mondays. And we want to give a shout out to your fabulous producer, Ella Rucker, who's awesome. And
Ella.
And those not too
Ella
far.
Laverne. Yeah, she's incredible. She by the way, Ella is I'm gonna out something on Ella right now. I'm hoping she will appreciate this, but it shows just the power. So when Ella started working with me on Mentor Monday, she worked on it at no fee. Like we were grinding on it. She wasn't being paid a thing. And she was doing it because she was giving. She liked, she liked what was happening. She just wanted to be a part of it. She at no point proposed any type of business structure between the two of us. And after a certain amount of time, and we started picking up sponsorships, right? We started generating revenue from Mentor Monday.
You were giving away juicers at one point, right? Or
yeah, we
were at one point like that.
Blenders, headsets, hot sauce. it was crazy. We've changed that now, but long story short, Ella now Mentor Monday is a company. It's an entity that generates revenue, and Ella is my partner in that, and she has a significant stake in that, and I think it really just goes to show. And I got this actually from, you mentioned Gary, your guy Gary, is the power of giving, then asking. Right?
Yeah. Jab, right hook.
There you go.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking your Saturday to chat with us. And so our final question is, what's on your playlist right now? What are you listening to?
Oh man, I'm gonna say something that Mike is gonna blow your mind. It's gonna blow your mind. Do you know what the last song I listened to, and it's the most frequent song on my play song on my Spotify? Is do you want to guess?
No. I was gonna say that. I was like, it's not Anaconda or something crazy like that.
Oh man, it is. Well, all right. What genre would you think that I would be playing over and over and over again?
Well, it's like a smooth, maybe like a smooth jazz. So I'm gonna say Kim.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. You're cooking.
But you also have Jamaican roots, so it could be something Jamaican.
All right. It is none other than Silk, Meeting in My Bedroom.
Like
you remember that? Old school Silk, like 90s R&B. Meeting in my bedroom. There's a meeting. I can't sing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that song.
Something about that song, man. I love it, man. I play it in the gym. I play it in the morning. I don't know what it is, but
that's funny because I was just watching. Do you remember like when Jason's Lyric came out?
Oh yeah,
they had that song where they had like all of the popular R&B acts. All of it was called "You Will Know."
Oh.
You remember that?
No, I don't remember when that came out.
Yeah, so that was like it was in the movie soundtrack. So it had like all the popular R&B acts from that time in the '90s. And you remember that was a movie with Jada Pinkett Smith and the other guy that was in New Jack City. I can't remember his name now. But I remember like I was watching a clip of that, and Silk came up because they were like a part of the vocals in there, and I was like, I haven't seen those guys in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen them either. I would pay big money to go to a show.
Yeah, it sounds like an episode of Unsung. Like where are they today? They've kind of like fell off the scene. Well, cool. Well, we're gonna play that jam for everybody to hear. And, thank you so much for, jumping on Smart Brown Voices with us and giving us a lot of really cool insights. And, I personally can't wait to participate in Startup Weekend. And so for anybody out there who's listening to this episode, make sure you send us a tweet, and I'll send you more information about if you want to join up on Smart Startup Weekend. But the spaces are going quickly, so you got to, act now.
Yeah.
So any final words?
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I was going to say thank you. I love what you're doing with this project. It's important. It's needed, and just thank you for what you're doing.
No, thank you, because really, like, Mentor Mondays has inspired a lot of what we're doing here with, Smart Brown Voices, because, we were like, well, I need to get some content going, and I was, really looking at what you guys, have been doing with Mentor Mondays, so I was like, well, let me do a podcast, because I don't really like looking at myself on video.
Man, well, I tell you what, I'm honored, that we might have played a role in that, and it just goes to show that, when you give, when you're investing in yourself, when you're, you're doing good work, right, publishing good content, that the yield is priceless. What comes back to you, it really is.
Totally. Well, thanks, man, and have a good rest of your weekend.
All right, thank you. You too.
Cell, 2G, 2,000 watts. Yeah.
Every meeting in my bedroom. So girl, please don't be late. Every meeting in my bedroom. So please don't make me wait. There's a meeting in my bedroom. Looking at my road, girl, I see it's almost time. Oh yeah. I hope you're getting ready, girl, and don't forget the wine. How long is the Monday? Tonight is just for you and I, and it's gonna be so fly.
So fly. What?
I like having you around, so I gotta put you down. So be there or be square. Every meeting in my bedroom. So girl, please don't be late. Me.
Thanks for listening to Smart Brown Voices with your host, Mr. Mike Street. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts and make sure to follow us on social media. This has been a Mr. Mike Street production. Join us next time for another edition of Smart Brown Voices and be inspired.